Okay, hey, we're going to go ahead and get started. Really quickly, this WebEx should take only about 20 to 30 minutes. We're going to be going through GTL's hospital indemnity plan. So for those of you who have never sold them or you're not familiar with them, really easy product. If you're, especially in the senior marketplace, this is a product that you can very easily attach to, particularly Med Advantage sales. And, we find that the agents who are regularly presenting or incorporating this product to their sales calls, they're probably closing around 70-75% of their clients on the hospital indemnity plans as well. So anyways, I'll go ahead and get started on it. GTL, really quickly before we even go into all the other information, there's a lot of other carriers out there who offer hospital indemnity plans. The reason that we really like GTL, they have a great product. They haven't raised their premiums over the years. They have a very easy application with just a couple of questions, so they're pretty lenient on the underwriting. The other reason that we really like GTL, so obviously you can get most of your cases through. There's other products out there where you'd present it to a client and perhaps half the time you're actually getting your case through and approved through underwriting. Again, GTL is very lenient, so it's easy to get it approved, and they also have a 6-month guarantee issue period at 64.5. So even people with those health issues, you can still get them the plan. So again, and as far as the commissions, they pay a great commission. It's 50% is the street agent commission level, 50% of first year's premiums, and I believe it's a 10% trail for life after that. So very aggressive commission schedule as well. So anyhow, GTL is a great way to grow your block of business. It also fills in the gap for their high out-of-pocket costs on their health plan. Usually it's for their hospital costs, but there's also a bunch of different riders that we'll discuss that can also fill in those gaps. And again, the commission will actually pay you sometimes just as much or more than a Med Advantage sell too. So this is from GTL, this little image, about how it's a great referral generator, but it absolutely is a great way to cross-sell, another product, and you will get more clients just from offering this product. So this is just kind of a little chart showing their sales the past 10 years, and really the intent of it is to fill in again all the co-payments or large out-of-pocket costs that your client may have with their health plan. And GTL, this is from last year, from 2016. They've been around now for 12 years, and they have not had an increase in premiums throughout that whole time. Okay. HIP there, it's referring to hospital indemnity plan. And yeah, 7 out of 10 people will actually end up buying a plan as long as the agent presents to them. The average annual premium is $500. So you can do the math. Your average sells $250 and $750 if you're attaching a cancer rider to it. The other thing that's really nice is when you do sell hospital indemnity, anytime you're bundle selling, you help your clients get 2 or 3 or 4 different types of insurance, you really solidify your relationship with the client. So it really makes it stickier, and the likelihood of them keeping it and keeping you as an agent really exponentially increases. Okay. So I briefly discussed this. When agents get contracted, they can pick one of 2 ways to get their commissions. They can have their first year's premium advanced or paid to them right up front, or you can go as earned, where you get your little portion every month as they pay their monthly premium. So completely up to you. Just keep in mind, if you do go in advance, that if the policyholder does cancel, then you will be charged back your commission. Policies that are adjusted annually due to copay increases are able to be paid in full again. So if you go out and sell your client a policy and then go back later and add on an ambulance rider or a skilled nursing rider or something like that, increase the daily amount, that policy will pay again at the full rate. Okay, very cool. Okay, so how and when can you sell the plan? Well, for a lot of you agents out there who are selling Medicare products already, you're very familiar with this scope of appointment form. It's obviously that form you get in advance or at the beginning of the appointment, and you're going to outline the products you're going to present. Just make sure that you check the box for hospital indemnity products so you can actually present this in the same appointment as your Medicare sales, or you can do it completely separate before, after. A lot of flexibility. We have agents who have just started selling hospital indemnity plans, and they already have a book of business, maybe 100, 200, sometimes 1,000 clients. And now that the Medicare annual enrollment season's ending, they'll go back and do consultations throughout the year and fill in that gap coverage and sell a lot of these. So it gives them something to do during the off season, so to speak. So here's kind of a sample over to the left hand, this image of sample Medicare Advantage plan, and it's showing a inpatient hospital care copay of $250 a day, days 1 through 6. In a lot of parts of the country, it's actually much higher than that. So, in many cases, it's $325, $350. I've seen $450 a day in the hospital. So, realistically, there's a much larger gap that some people need to cover, and they may be even more interested in one of these plans. Okay, here's just some little examples from GTL that they kind of tell agents as far as ways to bring up the hospital indemnity plan. But we certainly tell agents that that's one of the larger exposures that they have as far as if they're choosing a Medicare Advantage plan, and if they were hospitalized even for a couple of days, it could be $1,000. If people are comfortable with that, that's great. But more often than not, people are happy to enhance their coverage for how inexpensive these plans are. So how do you close the hospital indemnity plan alongside the Medicare Advantage plan? Okay, so this is kind of just a little example. Some agents will kind of make the, not necessarily say good, better, best, but kind of the example of, over on the left-hand side, you got a Medicare Advantage plan, and most plans throughout the country are anywhere from 0 monthly premium to about $33 per month. Of course, I see Advantage plans going $60, $80, $100 a month, depending on your area. But, good coverage. Better would be having a Medicare Advantage plan and adding the additional hospital coverage. And then, obviously full, complete coverage would be like a Medicare supplement, where you have Part A and B for the first 80% and a supplement to fill in the other 20%. So, when presented this way as, hey, this is good, here's a way to protect you even more, and then here's another way, which is, significantly more expensive, a lot of clients you'll find will pick the middle option. So a couple important things to know about GTL plans. Again, I mentioned it earlier, 64.5 to 65.5. So, the 6 months before they turn 65, and, the 6 months after, it's guarantee issue. So it's fantastic. Again, if you have somebody who is to have a chronic condition or they have health issues, they're going to likely be, more interested in getting one of these plans while they're able to get it. Obviously, if they miss that window, they're going to have to go through underwriting, and they may not be able to get it. So another thing, right at the beginning, I mentioned that they've been around. It's now 12 years. GTL has been offering these plans, and they have not increased premiums since that time, which is fantastic. It's not a guarantee, but again, we've never seen that. So even if they were to do any sort of a premium increase in the future, I would imagine it'd be very, very minimal. They do have a one-time $20 application fee, and it's due right when you're doing the application. Okay, when the first premium's due, the first time they draft money, they'll draft a $20 policy fee. Now, if a spouse anytime in the future, let's say you help a client and the spouse is 3 years younger, and when they get on Medicare, or even if it's years down the road, they get a policy, they're going to waive the $20 policy fee. They do have a pre-existing clause, and I'll go through that really quickly. Obviously, most of you who are in the industry in some way, shape, or form know what a pre-existing condition is. And so it is going to be applicable within the first 6 months of having the policy. Okay, so again, the pre-X, it does apply to guarantee issue, but after they've had the policy for 6 months, those pre-existing conditions are going to be covered. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, then please let me know. Okay, so let's say you go and do the presentation, you show the plan, the client gets the coverage. What are they going to expect after? They're going to get a welcome letter in the mail, and it's going to have a couple different documents. It's going to have a little card for them with the welcome letter and their policy information, and it's going to actually explain to them how they would actually submit a claim. There's 2 forms, and then also there's they want you to get the hospital bill, which is typically called the UB04, and that's what you're going to submit along with the signed HIPAA form. The reason that it's going to be important for them to get the HIPAA form is that more often than not, people don't fill out the form correctly. The HIPAA form, if it's submitted, is going to allow GTL to go back and gather all the information that they need and get the claim, processed and paid out without having to bother your client. And they're really good about doing that. Typically, when the claim does go through, GTL will pay within 2 weeks. So it's a very quick turnaround time. Definitely, if your client is hospitalized, medical billing is very slow. They're definitely going to get the cash before they need to pay any sort of hospital co-payment. Okay, so there's a lot of different riders and scenarios you can attach as well. This is just a quick little example, and this was actually provided by GTL of a gentleman named Jerry. Obviously, his policy went into effect, and you can see the policy amount. Obviously, within the first year, he had a hospital stay. And of course, the math is done there for you. He was absolutely covered, and received a check. Okay, so even after he was done paying his applicable co-payments that he had with his health plan, he ended up making over $1,000 by having the GTL hospital coverage. Now there's different riders we're going to go through right now. Let's see. One of the little hot button topics in Medicare over the last 2 or 3 years has been observation periods. And really what it is when someone goes to the emergency room or goes to the hospital and they're not fully admitted as an inpatient. It's like a weird gap in between, as far as the codes go. And it's not an ER, and it's not a full admission. It's under observation. And some health plans, people were paying really high amounts, thousands of dollars sometimes. So this plan will actually has an option to cover those observation periods as well. So if someone has to stay at the hospital for that 12 to 24-hour stay and they're not fully admitted, this plan will actually cover it. Okay. Also, there's an ambulance rider that you can attach. It's pretty inexpensive. You are not required to stay in the hospital in order to have the coverage, and it's $200 for they will reimburse your client for their ambulance usage. And also a lump sum rider. So the base of the policy, when you go to calculate it, it has a per day amount. You can select for your client $200, $250, $300 per day. Obviously, the higher dollar amount that you select is going to increase the monthly premium a little bit. So, but there's also an option to add this lump sum rider where let's pretend for a moment your client had $250 per day. Well, if you were to select the lump sum rider for $500, well, their first day, they're going to get their $250 base of the benefit plus the $500 from the lump sum. So even one day in the hospital would pay them $750 for just one day. Hopefully that example makes sense. But there's a lot of flexibility. Again, and on the app, which is fantastic. And that's a separate little WebEx, which you can check out next. It's very easy to go in and just with the slider and adjust the different figures and riders and calculate that premium. It makes it very easy. So they have an outpatient surgery rider as well. Again, it's lump sum, and you can select $250 all the way up to $1,000. Obviously, if you're choosing like the $1,000, it's going to be a higher monthly premium than the $250. Okay. Skilled nursing rider. This is probably the rider that is used most often out of all of them, and it's going to cover your client for each day that they're in a skilled nursing facility. So you can choose $100, $150, or $200 per day, which is definitely enough right now with Medicare being around 161, 164, somewhere in there per day in a skilled nursing facility. Definitely these options are going to be enough to cover any out-of-pocket costs in a skilled nursing facility. There is also a lump sum cancer rider. The amounts are there at the top, anywhere from $2,500 to $20,000 that you can just attach as a rider to this policy. And let's see. There's also an optional recurrence benefit rider, which is pretty cool. As a quick explanation, let's say your client had this policy and you selected the $10,000 amount. They had cancer. They were diagnosed. They'll be paid out the $10,000, and then after that benefit period's up, it will reset. And so if your client's in remission and 4 years later or 5 years later they still have this plan and they get diagnosed, it'll pay out again at half of that face amount. So anyhow, that's about it. There's a lot of different riders. Keep in mind, I guess just a wrap up and a takeaway on the GTL hospital indemnity plans. They're actually a very, very easy little product to attach to other health plans. A lot of clients really do want them, and it's very easy to customize the plan to your client's needs. The app, we definitely recommend over the paper, the iPad app. Again, there's things like lump sum cancer, skilled nursing riders, cancer riders with recurrence, ambulance, outpatient surgery. All those things can be customized, and again, they pay a great commission, and they really make it very easy to get those policies into effect. So any questions at all about the GTL? The other thing I'll really quickly mention is they have a couple other products. They have life products, which are very competitive, and they also have a short-term care plan for those of you who are looking for a product to maybe bridge the gap between like a long-term care plan and Medicare. There's always that in between for people having coverage in their home when they're sick. They have a great product for that, which also includes prescription drug reimbursement. So again, there's a WebEx you'll find. That one's going to be titled the Short-Term Care Plan from GTL. I encourage you to check that one out as well. Keep in mind, if you have questions about the plan, you're with a client, you can call us, IM us, get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions and make sure you have everything you need to sell and take care of your client. All right. Appreciate you sticking around with us for a bit, and let us know how we can help you grow your business. All righty.